and welcome to another wonderful Mentorship Monday with Michelle and with Maren. And I'm so happy to be here with you, Maren, and we have a little guest here as well.
We have a new audience member, special guest. There's a frog. He's just so cute, sitting outside my window right now.
Like, look
That's
at
what
his
he looks
eyes
like right now. I know.
peeking in.
He's a little bit. I'll take this picture. He's actually a little bit higher right now. He's letting me see his. Oh, there he is. He's letting me see his little nose now. Wait, where is it? Oh, there he is.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Okay, look at that face. Now, there's a lot of importance to, there's a lot of, the phone is showing all these rainbow colors too, which is very interesting. I'm sure it's just but he's like in the rainbow. Oh my gosh. Well, hello, little froggy friend. We're so happy to have you because what is so interesting is Maren and I were having a little chat prior to our recording, and we were just talking a little bit about, what was going on, and we were speaking about some experiences, and I was talking a bit about, the integration of how a lot of us are finding our voice, where we were talking about actually the throat chakra, and the throat chakra being so important, connected into the heart, that when we are able to really understand ourselves, have compassion for ourselves, which is what many of us have been doing through this journey, through this process, is getting deeper within ourselves so that we can also feel more from others. We can feel love. We can feel, we can navigate, have discernment. So as we're talking about that, this little frog comes up and validates for us a little synchronicity. And I won't get into the whole conversation of what we said, but it was a magical moment when the frog popped up, because it just made a whole lot of sense to where we were in conversation. So that's why we would like to introduce our little guest, the frog, today. So how you doing, Maren?
I am good. I'm loving my little frog friend.
Yeah.
Super busy with sports as always. I didn't have much time to meditate this week, but it's all right. There's next week.
We have weeks like that.
Yeah.
It's really not this walk up perfection. Like, we have to be so regimented and scheduled, because that's what flow is, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we can have minimum 5 minutes a day just to be in a state of silence, to be able to feel ourselves, to be able to connect, that's important. And to stay grounded is important, because with so many changes that are taking place within us and happening around us, keeping ourselves grounded and just knowing where our own flow is so important. So when we were talking a moment ago, when our froggy friend popped up, we were talking about how differently we're navigating the world these days, and how we're feeling. And I know many others that I've communicated with lately, that theme of really starting to work in the world differently, because we are different, because we are new versions of ourselves. And what's so interesting, what I found on my own journey, is it's a consistent, and has been a consistent, step in and step out. There's been this consistency of going into myself, and we've talked about it many times, of, my perceptions of things change. My perceptions of why I do what I do, and why are you doing this today, Michelle? And maybe this today is not working anymore. It's time to shift this. So all of these things are so connected, and they really are helping build that foundation, that inner strength within us, so that we can take all of these ideas that are coming in, all of these things that we see for ourselves, for our future. A lot of us get into these states of, well, I don't know how I would ever take this that's in here or all this information, these things that I feel, how do I actually put them into action? And that truly comes from the process of trusting, of being able to go inside and continuing to be clear. Did the frog
He
jump?
just jumped at the window and startled
Yeah,
me. God.
he's excited. He's saying, yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
correct. But this, when we build that strength within ourselves, it becomes much easier. And this is what I was saying about the meditation and about flow. Understanding our flow, and flow is not how we were trained in the world. We were
Yeah.
trained in the world to wake up, do this, do this, do this, get to work 9 to 5, go, 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 go. You're sick, too bad, push through it. You feel like you need a rest, too bad, push through it. It's that generational energy of the way the world has worked for many times. It does not work for many of us anymore.
Yeah.
And so we've been learning flow, been learning to work differently, and to know that, and I'll just dangle this out here, that how we create what we need in the world when it comes to abundance of all kinds, when it comes to finances, there is a different way of doing things. And that comes from inside here, not out here.
Okay, Michelle. I know you said more than two, but there's two huge things that literally have just come across my, I don't know, myself, my presence, come into
Yes.
my awareness
Yep.
this week that I just said. One was, gosh, I'm so tired of all these superficial relationships and I want to say like friendships, like, because I do like the friendships, but I'm tired of the superficial conversation within the
Yeah.
friendships. Like I was like, I was telling my husband this, I was like, that's why I just love Michelle and talking to Michelle, because I get to really talk about, and I'm so grateful for you. And I sent you light last night because I was just so grateful
Oh,
for you. But,
thank you. I am for you too.
because I just like, I'm just so grateful for this. And I'm so grateful that like we are able to talk at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you were saying like, how do you kind of, how do you fit this into your world? I kind of felt that conversation come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously abundance, like, oh, my husband like read this fact that like making $140,000 in 2024 was like making $11,000 in 1974 or something like that. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, that's crazy. Like how much inflation has hit. And so, yeah, financial abundance would definitely be something I think everyone could benefit
Yeah.
from.
Yes.
And so I love that. So just like finding your voice, incorporating this and integrating this into like real life, manifesting abundance. Is that what we're going to talk about today?
Well, I believe so. And the thing is this maybe at one time I believed that this was magical. If I had have heard this, say 15 years ago, I would
Yeah.
have been like, what do you mean I just have to be myself and follow my heart and be intentional with my thoughts? What do you mean my vibration is what brings in finances? Because truly, and this is the truth, this is how the universe works, is that and there's more than one way. If a person wants to push and trade hours and do things that way, it doesn't mean you can't do it, because you can. If that's the way that you're doing things, there's nothing wrong with that. There is another way. And for many of us that are structured differently, but we have found that out in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years. We have found out that, wait a minute, I'm changing. Things are changing. The person that I have been, and this is part of the awakening process, the person that I have been is actually not who I really am. I had these superficial, that felt like me, So it wasn't like I was walking around at one point in my life saying, this isn't me. I'm pretending to be somebody else. It wasn't that at all. In fact, my relationships, everything, I felt like I was me. But being able to look back at why I did what I did and to see the amount of actions that I took that weren't me, to see the conversations that weren't me, and the times that I did know that this is not me. And my, I will say, inability at that time to express that out of fear of rejection, out of fear of creating trouble, arguments, conversations, out of fear of not being liked, because that was a really big one for me. So I would hold back to the point where I believed what I was doing was being a good person by holding back. And it's not really about, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? I wasn't being good to me. I wasn't being honest with me. So in comes our awakening points, right? We have a big awakening. We have a small awakening, a big awakening, because we can have several throughout our journey, right? Awakenings are the moments where we have shifts. So we might have one big one. So I always talk about having addiction and having my son and my cancer journey back to back to back. And that was a big awakening for me, because that's where everything started to shift. And that's where I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, even though I didn't know how or where things were headed, I knew that I could no longer live as the person I had been before. That if I wanted to live a life the way that I truly felt that I wanted and I could, I had to make changes. And those changes caused a lot of smaller awakening and aha moments and discovery and all of those things. But why is that so important with manifesting? Well, in understanding that abundance is our right in this world. And I mean abundance of freedom. Because let's think, what does money, because money is paper or coin. It is, and now changing over to many systems that we're not even exchanging. Money is a number. It is an understanding. So we really think about that. What actually is that, right? It's an energy. So it is all of this belief and structure and momentum that has gone on for so long that it seems like this unattainable thing. So I look at my bank account. Well, it doesn't say what I'd like it to say, right? So we look at all these things as something that is beyond our control, that we have no control over. So really what's happened over many generations is money has been a status symbol. It has been symbolic of success. It has been all of these different symbols of things where it has created a sense of lack. And that brings up a conversation of many structures. And, we think about, when we talk about race and how there's division in race and how much we have experienced that in the world with separation. Well, there's division in financial groups too. There's division in, those that are, say, the saying in my family is always living the life of Riley, right? Living the high life. And then there would be those that were just dragging themselves and working so, so hard and would have so much sickness and could never seem to get ahead. There's all these structures in the world that there really wasn't another way. We weren't taught that there was another way. And there is. And that other way is, if you look at the energy of money, rather than look at the number or what it would buy me, what the money is being exchanged for, look at the energy of freedom. What does that energy give me in the sense of freedom? And that, changing that relationship with money for myself, my family, has been a big game changer in having the freedom, being able to have the things that we need yes, but to have the freedom, and also knowing that abundance comes in many different ways. So if we're thinking it's only going to come by a paycheck, or in a way that we're dependent on or have been dependent on, open up those pathways to, well, wait a minute, universe, how can you surprise me? Which way is this going to come? I want to have an experience to travel with my family. I would love to get an RV and travel with my family and go across the US. I wonder how that's going to come in. How is that going to happen? So changing it with I keep seeing all these RVs and I keep seeing all these things, and I don't know how that will ever take place, and will I ever have enough money, and will this ever? It's changing that conversation. And all of these changes with our belief systems in relation to money, in relation to abundance, to freedom, to all of these things that we would love, they are our birthright, but we have to work on what our beliefs are, how we feel about ourselves, and how we're navigating ourselves, not only the speech towards ourselves inside, but how are we navigating and responding to what's happening on the outside of us.
Oh, that's so big. So like if you were to see the RV, like, ads and pictures and one passes you on the street. And so we're not going to say like, oh, that's not me. What do? Do you sit and breathe in what it would feel like? Do you say, one day that'll be me? Like I say, like, one day that'll be me. Is that even to like what's the best way to respond internally to when you see that?
Okay, so I'll give you an example of what I would used to say and to what
Okay.
I say today. And this was a building process. And I'm going to
Okay.
use the RV as an example because that's something that has stayed consistently throughout
Okay.
my experience, because anyway, that's not short. So, what I would used to say is, say we're traveling on the highway and this beautiful big RV went by, and I started getting these feelings of, oh, my childhood, and I love that, and I love traveling. And then I would get this sadness that would hit and be like, almost like I want to call it not necessarily a feeling of desperation, but the notice of lack. Like, wow, those RVs are a lot of money. They're like, the cost of a house, some of these RVs, and we could never afford that. We could never do that. And I guess I'm not even going to bother ever looking at any of them or even thinking about it, because that's not something we're ever going to be able to do unless we win the lottery. Okay, so that's old thinking. That's the way I used to think. So then it started to move to thoughts more like, I see an RV going down the highway and I go, oh yeah, that is going to be me someday. Yeah, that is me. Mm-hmm. I feel it. Something like that's going to happen. But there was still subconscious play that was going in there that would be like, what? How are you going to do that, Michelle? How is that going to happen? I knew that subconscious trail was going on there, but I didn't know how to shift it. Once I started to learn more and understand more, I understood that I had the control not only to how I played with that energy and played with those beliefs, but I was able to use my experience with synchronicity and the universe to help validate what I believed. So, for example, what I say today is this. I don't go on and go, oh, I wish, I can't wait till the day, because I'm in a place today where I say, I love where I am today. I love it. I'm very happy. And I know that things are changing for the better all the time. So I say something more like that. And when it comes to the RV, so say, actually, I'll tell you, I just had this week. It just popped in my head. So we have on our street, or we live on a court, and on our court, one of the homes is an Airbnb. And the guy that owns the home, he's made it all up like a recording studio. And like, so a lot of like famous bands that come and play at the big center here in our city, they come and stay at this Airbnb. because it has a recording studio and they can practice and it's very private, kind of away from everything. So this week I'm coming home from an appointment and I pull around our court and it's just like a small little bottleneck opening and there's this gigantic RV, big bus, beautiful, just like yes, please, yes, I will take that. And so I see that sitting there. My first thought is, for me? Is it here? Did it come for me? Because this is what I'm looking for. But I knew it was connected to the house. So I thought to myself, first of all, when we're working towards something and we practice the detachment, meaning it's my dream, I love this, I know it's there, and I know it's coming at some point. I maybe don't know how, I don't know how it's all coming together, but the synchronicities, and we've talked about this before, Maren, the synchronicities of opening up a magazine and something's there right after I felt something, heard something, dreamt about something. So all those synchronicities are like building this whole story, building the belief system. And so when I see this RV, it just happened to be a synchronicity to a lot of thoughts and feelings that were coming in the days prior. So it felt really good to see that RV. And so my belief system, I have the freedom that I feel right now to be able to say, that's amazing. And how awesome is it to see somebody else experience that? How amazing is it to watch somebody else in that experience? And I know that my turn is coming too. I know. I don't know where it's coming. I'm going to be surprised by it. I don't know what my opportunities are going to be, but I know that that's part of my experience too. So it's like joining somebody. It's sharing in somebody's joy. It's sharing in someone's experience. So for me, it's about the experience. An RV does not represent status to me. I have a son with autism. I have a daughter with autism. I have a big family. I have pets. I want to travel. I want to go somewhere with my family, and that's the way that I love to travel. And that's what I want to do. It's about the experience. It's about all that togetherness. And that's the energy that I wrap myself up in. So when I go to that place, I go to that experience.
Well, I love it because I think, you know, we're all connected through the collective conscious.
Yeah.
And you're saying, I'm so happy for this person. And you are kind of joining his experience. And so because you're joining his experience, it becomes your experience.
Yes.
And that's what they say manifest, right? Because you're feeling it, you're living it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
truly being happy for others. And
yes. And
okay.
and you know, and that's the thing too, is like when we come at something, whether it be someone else's life, someone else's experience, whether it's something that they are doing or have that we see and say it brings up these feelings of lack. I don't have that. It's not fair. All of those things, that's all about us. If that's how we feel, that's not about anybody else. That's about us. And that's what needs to be worked through. If somebody else's success or what you believe is success triggers you, it doesn't matter whether that success is actually real or not, or if it's an illusion. It does not matter. It's what it triggers inside each individual.
What do you do when you have, this brings me, I feel like this is part of what you were saying too. Like, what do you do when you have relationships with people and they're very that way? Like, they're very like, oh, well, she got this and I didn't, or, you know, he did this and I didn't, or they have this. And like, it is, you can kind of feel how like heavy it is. What do you do?
So, and that was kind of like what you were talking about in the beginning when you were saying the depth of conversation, right? The surface conversation. So, first of all, we go right into judgment again. It's like, okay, we're not going to judge where people are at, because wherever somebody is at, that is exactly how they feel. That's their experience. So their consciousness, and this is not a better than or less than conversation at all. Where someone's consciousness is at is where it's at. And it's not up to us to teach that person necessarily that, oh, wait a minute here, there's more to this. Although sometimes that is important to say, there might be a teaching moment where we can say, hey, like this person worked really hard for this, or we can point something out. However, if you're engaged in a conversation with someone or you've got them in your family, the most important thing to remember is not to spend your energy trying to change someone's mind. Allow them to have their opinion, and you decide what you're going to engage with and what you're not. So sometimes being silent and just letting them speak and listening is all that's needed. Because if somebody is, and often people, if they're in a state where they're like, well, that's not fair and this is what's going on with me, there's different situations. Like, for example, somebody might be saying it just because they need to say it. They need to get it all out. They feel like they're not validated. They're not able to validate themselves. So they're angry, they're upset, they're hurt. And once they get it out, it lifts off of them. They're able to move on from it. And then you have maybe somebody that's in a perpetual state of it's always them. It's always against me. Things are always against me. And when you get into those situations, that's where you really have to decide what you're willing to engage with and what you're not. Because you can try and teach and share all you want. If somebody is in a place where they're not willing to hear a different approach or willing to hear maybe what is actually happening, they're going to come from the perception of you're being critical. So it almost sounds like criticism to somebody else, or sounds like an opponent to somebody else, even though that's not your intention with it. So this is a little bit of a fine dance. So are these people that you work with? Okay, well, if they're people that you work with, then this is let's say Shirley. Shirley comes into work every day. She slams her mug on the desk and she says, well, screw this, and I'm not doing this, and this is always this way, and this is how my mornings always start. And okay. So you want to take a deep breath, and you would just want to remind yourself that what's going on with Shirley doesn't need to affect your day. So you deflect it. That might mean that you've got headphones that you put in. That might mean that you're like, hey, Shirley, you know what? I've really got to get something done here. So I'm just going to tune out for a minute. You may have to do things that you pull your energy back so that you're not affected. But this is where all of the inner work of understanding what we believe and knowing that we do not have to change other people, but we have to be able to understand our own reactions to things. And if Shirley's bad day and slamming the mug on the desk is causing a deep reaction in yourself, well, then maybe there's something a little further to go into to understand that.
What about, say like you and your spouse want to manifest the RV, and you've been listening to our show, so you know how to manifest the RV, but your husband's like, oh, it's so expensive. We have so many bills. Like, we're never going to get that RV. And they're stuck in the old way. Are there things that you could say to that? Like, do they hurt your manifestation chances? Because this is like a family RV. So are they hurting your chances? And then B, are there things that you can say to your husband? Because I feel like it can be a little bit more candid, like, knock it off. I don't know.
Because I have experienced this completely, because I have walked this, and this will be how many years have been? So I was diagnosed in 2014. So my awakening and everything started around that time. So it's been almost 10 years. So we've been on this trail. And there was a time where the differences between how my husband saw things and how I saw things were different. There was a gap. And rightfully so. I mean, we experienced some pretty crappy things, and including with finances and everything. So it was not an easy walk. So the first thing that I did was I kept a lot of it to myself. And I mean this in the healthiest way. I knew that there were some subjects that were, let's say, highly, what's the word I'm looking for? The adversity was really high. So let's say one of the first things that we manifested was a new truck, because 10 years ago, the truck that we had was falling apart. We didn't have the money to repair it. We were borrowing money to live. So we needed a new truck. And part of me was like, I would hear things on the outside like, well, you don't need a brand new truck and you don't need this and you shouldn't really want those things. Aren't you just satisfied with a van? But it was something that I really wanted. And I remember going through that. Do I deserve it? Do I deserve a new truck? Do I deserve, going through those things within myself? So when that conversation would come out to my husband, it would be a lot of, well, I don't know how we're going to do that. And that doesn't make sense. So there was a lot of adversity. So for that particular subject, it was more like, I'm going to just work on me and I'm going to do what I know what to do. And at that time, I was having a lot of dreams, a lot of messages. Eric was telling me, write everything down, write it all down. So I would just continue to write things down. And so a lot of my journey was very private to myself. Close friends, I didn't share any of that with any of them because I knew that it was important to protect that egg, to protect that energy. Because here's the thing, our partners and the people close to us, can they affect our manifestations? Yes. But how they affect it is more on what comes from the reactions. So it doesn't, at the end of the day, where does the manifestation come from? Well, it comes from the energy. And yes, our collective energy in our family, in our partners, with our partnerships can amplify. And it can also go against if, let's say, I'm trying to convince Rob, this is the way that it is. This is what I've learned. You can't come at it that way. You can't do that. So if I'm reacting in a way that's creating a negative response, that's going right back to the state of lack. Because even though I'm thinking I'm manifesting something, I'm trying to do good, I'm trying to convince somebody else of that. So my true belief, core belief, is he doesn't believe it and I have to force him to believe it for this to happen.
Okay, that's like when people, question like spirituality, or they'll question things, what the Bible says this, and I'll be like, okay, like, I'm like, I don't care what you believe because
Yeah.
I'm not offended. You can believe whatever you want and it doesn't
That's
affect me.
exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And so when we take that very same way of thinking and formula and we use that towards anything, that's why being really firm on your beliefs. And when I say that, it's being firm on what you believe right now, because there might be more information that comes in that starts to change how you feel about something. But our core beliefs come from what aligns with us. And to understand that is through the process of experience. That's why you can't just, for a lot of things, manifest just like that. Because your belief system is not the vibration of. You have to understand where your vibration is today and where the vibration is of the thing that you're bringing in and how much distance is between it. So when you're acting, taking action, thought, everything that you're doing, if that intention is, does this bring me closer to the vibration of what it is that I want in my life? And I always go for the experience, not really the things. The things are like, yeah, I'd love that. And yes, I would love it to be black and I would love it to have these wheels and all those things. Yes, right. I'm a human being. I love that stuff, but it is not about that. That is not the most important thing. It is the experience, and that's the energy I go to. So is that experience of freedom with my family, in my reactions, does that align with that feeling in my heart that I know is true? Or is the way that I'm reacting going against that? So it's like breaking down conversations, and it's not about them. Your partners, your family, the people that make it, and I've heard it time and time again, I can't I can't do this. I can't manifest because my partner is so difficult and so this person's so negative. Well, yes, it may make your experience more challenging when you have somebody that is in the opposite, but how do you know that that person and where they're at is not the perfect teacher to you to be able to work through your stuff, to help you grow?
That's
And
so true.
most times, because words don't teach, energy does. Words do not teach. We teach the most by the way that we are, by our
Yeah.
actions and what we do. So at the point in time, and yes, I did manifest that truck, and it actually came in exactly right to the T, to the color, to the price, everything. I got that truck, and we manifested another one together. So we did another one, and that one my husband was very much a part of. And that experience blew his mind because he saw it all come in. He saw the whole process. So, and I mean, there was a good 5 years in between the two. But this is just, it's not a walk of perfection. It's not this walk of things have to be a certain way. It is, how do I become the most authentic to myself? And that comes by understanding myself. It comes by looking at the hard things, walking through the hard things, taking emotional responsibility of yourself. And sometimes that means that there may be connections or people in your life that you are no longer exchanging with, that you're no longer in relationship with, because when these things happen, we vibrationally start to change. So people are either going to rise up, because words don't teach, energy does. We're either going to rise up and be able to walk together, or it's going to fall away. Our timelines, our existence starts to go in different directions. And that happens, and it's very natural to happen. But sometimes these people need, and I'm going to say these, including us, sometimes we need that separation to be able to get our wheels going, to be able to have our own experiences, and then end up joining up together at another time. That happens too. So there's really no one size fits all. That's why this is about you. It's about each one of us, our journey. And when we are right with us to the best of our ability, everything else will move together in that direction. And yes, it takes time. It doesn't all happen overnight, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Okay.
Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Now yes, yeah, I love it. Yes. So they will impact it in some ways, but the most important thing to do is, it's funny, I got this in meditation, is fly high is what I heard. Kind of just
Yes.
be above it. Don't engage, because when
Yeah.
you're trying to convince someone, really you're convincing yourself, or or thinking there needs to be convincing. So
Yeah.
there's doubt. So
Yeah.
just
Like
fly high and
there's no need to get into debates. And I mean, of course, there's great times to have conversations
Mhm.
when you can have a healthy conversation with somebody and speak in a way that you're able to discuss, like, this is why I feel this way, or because those conversations can be great. But when somebody is engaging with you and it becomes I'm right and you're wrong,
Mhm.
there's no need to jump into those conversations. Let them have their experience. Let them, because it's theirs, their experience. You believe what you want to believe. That's the beauty about being here on this earth. We do not
Mhm.
all have to have the same experience, and it is okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's keep yourself flying high, because if you start to dip into the depths of convincing, you're really going into the vibrations of lack and of places that you might believe you're in a different place and you're really not, by going in there and doing that. So really think about what you're jumping in and talking about, and what's really important, and when it's really important to do those things. Because there are times where you do need to do it too.
I love it. We have had a very, very cute little audience member. He's been very engaged this whole time. Look at him. Look how cute he is. Oh, he's so cute. He's still listening.
Like, seriously.
He's really cute.
Do you see the energy? Do you see the energy up behind it? Do you see the little face?
No, I think that to me looks like my little circle light ring. That right there. That circle.
Yeah. Oh, is it your
I think
light
that's
ring? Okay. It looks like two eyes, and it looks like two eyes and a little head up above them. That's funny. That is hilarious.
Well, I mean, you never know. Could be.
Oh, true. I mean, faces pop out on knots and trees and all kinds of things.
You did turn like a scribble into my, stepmom. So yeah. I'm not going to discount that the light ring has turned into someone.
Yeah. Well, those things do happen. Absolutely. But, so everybody, this is a time where there's a lot of people that are really bringing in that I'm good with me. I'm good with where I'm at. And I don't need to prove that to anybody. It's really being in this place of acceptance for ourselves. And if that's where you are right now, and it may be still in a difficult place, and you may be navigating yourself through relationships, or you may have been away from people for a long time and you're just starting to come back into the world again, and it feels all brand new, just know that you're in the perfect, exact right place. That this is okay, and you are going to be okay, because each one of us are standing in our power for ourselves. And when you do that, my goodness, amazing things continue to unfold. And it really is turning into, I say, the experience in the RV, the experience of my life every day feels like magic, even through the hard days and the hard times. I'm so grateful to be here every day. That's the truth.
I am so grateful to be here every day as well. And when I look back at, my life and all the choices and the steps, it's like, when you're in it, it doesn't, you're nervous about the next step, and B, you're like, is this the right step? And then when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that had to happen because of this and this. So I am so grateful as well for every experience, every lesson. It's been.
Frog is telling everybody to take a leap. So whoever is sitting back with the hesitation right now and saying, I'm not sure if I should do this, this is your sign to take a jump, take a leap, leap of faith.
That's right.
Yeah.
I feel like I get all the animals. They all come in. Then we get the like, I don't know, it wasn't a crane. I don't like an egret crane.
Yeah.
Whatever last week, and then I think we've had some birds, and we've had some squirrels, and
we had rabbits. We've got 2 rabbits that run across our lawn every day. Yeah, so 2 big rabbits.
Oh. Yeah. All right, Michelle. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today about manifestation and how to do it, how to be accepting of who you are and your voice. I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.